Hi, and welcome to Philipod, a podcast about anything and philosophy. I am Bea, your Philipodcaster for today, here to talk to you all about the truth, our first ever Philipod episode. Ika nga nila, the truth will set you free, o di ba bongga? Pero ano nga ba ang truth? Do we strictly limit what is true to what we know as facts? Science? Can the truth actually differ from person to person? How can you distinguish what is true from what is not? These are some of the questions that we will be delving into today as we answer some of the top questions that we've received from you guys in our question bin. If you haven't sent yours yet, you still can at our Instagram question bin at Philipod, and we'll be happy to entertain you. So let's talk, let's chill here at Philipod. So without further ado, let's begin with our first Q&A segment, Itanong Mo. Let's take this first question from Taylor Batumbakal. I'll read it first. Good eve po. I have this friend kasi who gives the best and right advice when it comes to my relationship problems with my jowa. Oh, she always seems to be right and gives the perfect solutions, although she herself has never been into a relationship with anyone. Do you think she knows anything about relationships at all? Should I be taking her advice and consider it true? Okay, first things first, I believe we have to consider the fact that when we're in love, we tend to minimize our reasoning. We literally cloud our logical thinking, diba, by our emotional attraction to our significant other, no? Diba, we usually see on social media that our loved ones are one of the sources of dopamine, and scientifically, that's true. Being in a relationship, the other person becomes our source of dopamine, our satisfaction hormone, and so being in a relationship, it's mostly our emotional thinking at work. So your friend, who's not in a relationship, I would say, is able to maximize her rational thinking more than you and is less clouded by emotions, and so she gives you better advice and reason-based advice, most importantly. She's giving you one of our known two kinds of truth, no? The one that doesn't rely on experience to be acceptable, and that is the necessary or rational truth. It's a truth that she, by not being involved in the relationship, is able to see better and relate to you. So, yeah, your friend probably even knows more about relationships than you do simply by being the observer. So, ayan. Some words of appreciation for friends like her, no? Friends who watch out for us, who observe and tell us more about our relationship than we are able to grasp ourselves. And that's for the first question, no? On to the second question from Mary Cruz, and thank you for this wonderful question. In a world of misinformation and fake news, can you tell what is true from what is false? If so, how? If not, is there still such a thing as a truth? Why or why not? Well, with as much as I know about the truth, I have to say, in a world of misinformation, we can distinguish true from false based on how coherent they are with what we call our innate truths. Um, Truths that we just can't deny to be true, that are embedded in our very being. You see, kasi when we create knowledge about something, we first perceive this object or phenomenon, then that is, we experience it, diba? Afterwards, we develop our interpretation of it by applying some innate rules from our canvas of past known knowledge, diba? It is from this canvas, the common truth canvas, that we look into in order to determine authenticity of information. If a piece of information is consistent with this canvas, with our knowledge of everything else, then we can consider it to be true. Okay, well, kumare, I tell you that today is Friday, the 23rd of June. You can easily tell that I'm telling the truth. That is, that today is in fact Friday, the 23rd of June, because it is consistent with your knowledge of yesterday's and the other days' dates. Having knowledge, for example, that yesterday was Thursday, based on the knowledge that the day before that was a Wednesday, the 22nd of June. That is also based on the fact that the day before that was 21st. You're able to deduce the fact that today is in fact the 23rd, and therefore say that I'm telling the truth. See, I believe one of the best ways to distinguish what is true from what is false is by its coherence with all our other knowledge. And that's actually according to our coherence theory of truth. No. Apart from this, we actually also have the correspondence in pragmatic theory of truth, which respectively allow us to identify the truth based on what is most factual and most practical. We can identify the truth by how well it is backed up by known facts or how well they bring order and direction to our lives, such as the truth we have or the truth that we find in religion, for example. Last but not the least question for today, submitted by Jose Marie Chan. If everyone has their own truths, should we still search and fight for the truth? Well, to address this question, let's first look at these individual truths that everyone owns. When we say everyone has their own truths, we mean that everyone has their own truth slash interpretation of the world, right? By the pragmatic theory of truth, we develop such individual truths based on how well they work for us and allow us to function better in life. Examples of these truths could be our religious faith, a belief in a truth that is the existence of a god, or these could also be our political ideologies, no? These are all forms of truth in which we believe the world to be, and they could vary from person to person. If this is so, then should we still search and fight for the truth? If you mean some universal truth, I personally think we still should, because these individual truths that differ from person to person may not always be practical or true. They could be false or unfair to some. They could also bring conflict between groups of differing truths. Generally, they're not enough to bring universal order and coherence. Therefore, I say yes, we still need to search and fight for some universal truth, no? And hope that there actually is such a thing. Actually, by the theories of truth, perhaps this universal truth should possess qualities such as being factual, universally coherent, and practical and fair for all. Say, this could perhaps be why it's difficult to discover. A little something to think about. And that's about it for our Q&A portion for today. We now move forward to our next segment titled, Ano Ngayon? Okay, so, Ano Ngayon? How are these discussions on the search for truth relevant to our society, specifically to the Philippine setting? Well, given our recent circumstances, I think the answer is pretty obvious. These discussions on the search for truth tell us how we're able to find truth in this age of misinformation, of unpracticed advice, age of fake news, and of historical revisionism, which spread strikingly fast by digitalization. Because of false information, we sometimes risk our health when we take medical advice just anywhere off social media, diba? We get scammed of our property. We elect the wrong leaders. In this age, when we are facing the consequences of underestimating the power of social media for such widespread falsity, the search for truth is most relevant and would, well, hopefully not, diba, get more difficult by the years. Furthermore, these discussions on the search for truth allow us to understand and better respect each other's beliefs, religions, cultures, and differences overall, as they teach us how and why we actually differ, as our different truths in life bring about the order in us. And that's it. So I hope we let this be our final takeaway from our Philipod discussion for today. Let's always aim to find the truth. Let's always aim to understand the truth. Indeed, the truth will set us free. I call this a wrap. This has been Bea, your Philipodcaster for today, and thank you for joining us here at the Philipod, a podcast about anything and philosophy. We hope to see you for our next episode, and be on the lookout for our next bins, open for questions about morality and the good life, only at our Instagram profile at Philipod. Thank you.